Thank you for joining us again. Cliff Williams, Jiggity Joel Jackson. First off, we just want to say before we get into this, we're going to be covering the Astroworld Travis Scott tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers are with anyone who lost a loved one or was negatively impacted by this senseless tragedy. It is not our intention to make light of any life loss or anything of that nature. It is our intention to cover this, give our opinions, and try to stay hopeful and positive even in the bleakest of circumstances. This is not gospel. Yeah, so this Travis Scott thing...
I had no idea who this guy was until people talked about a demon, and then I looked it up.
Yeah, so for the past few days, it has been like this conspiracy theorists' like dream come true, sadly, to be able to talk about this thing. There have been stuff, there's videos, and for the past couple days we've watched videos, but then we just spent like 30 minutes or so just covering all of these reaction videos to what happened at Houston's Astroworld Festival.
Yeah.
And Travis Scott's performance. So far, I think the total life loss is 8 people, 8 victims of this tragedy. And there were also, there's evidence of certain security guards having been stuck with narcotics, with needles, someone going around sticking people with needles. That's what, according to the report from a police officer, Houston police officer. People being trampled to death, or the most common occurrence at this festival was cardiac arrest, is what they said was happening. And I mean, it's pretty intense. And then, of course, there's the conspiracy theories, man, of everybody saying that Travis Scott was sacrificing people to try and summon some demon or something. And if you look at the footage, the whole stage looks like this giant portal, and it's like this pyramid into a portal. And then in the very beginning of the concert, it says "See you on the other side" written on the video screens.
That's odd. That part sticks out to me as odd. Everything else to me, and we can talk about it, feels like a bunch of stoners just don't know what's going on. But the portal thing is very odd to me. And the needles and the security guards, that's odd.
Well, and too, it's also odd to me, in my opinion, that he never stopped. He seemed almost completely oblivious. And that's not true. He did stop once.
Yeah.
Somebody came on stage, made him aware when he saw like the ambulance lights coming through the stage. But his response at that moment when you watch the footage is so bizarre. He's just kind of like, hey, put your middle fingers up all around.
That to me, because I grew up with these people, I was always the Christian dude that didn't hang out with Christians. I hang out with the crazy stoners. That is, when I saw that video, that is perfectly normal stoner behavior to me. Like, out of your mind, can't remember what's going on. So I'm not saying that the demon stuff, the conspiracy stuff didn't happen. But when I initially watched the videos, and I watched them yesterday before we kind of mulled through them, I was not taken off guard. I was like, that's exactly like the rappers I used to record, the dudes that would come in that were strung out. You would think they were possessed.
So you're just thinking it could have been, in your opinion, Travis Scott was on some
stoned
drugs.
That whole crowd is nuts. Like, it's a bunch of crazy people that go to those concerts.
Well, we can look at this CBS News that kind of to get the facts on what happened here.
Yeah.
At least 8 people, including 2 teenagers, were killed, and scores more were injured following a crowd surge at Houston's Astroworld Festival late Friday. Now, this isn't the first time also that Travis Scott, as we watch these videos, that he's incited this type of rioting, incited this type of behavior, he's telling security guards at shows to let the people through, let them come, and he's incited people to rush the stage. Apparently he's had charges pressed on him in 2015 and 16 for inciting a riot and endangering the life of minors and things of this nature. So it's not the first time that he's sort of had this kind of violent response by his fans at one of his festivals. That's not a good look. I mean, if he's tried for anything, and I'm not sure right now if he's actually they're going to be pressing charges against him or not on this as well. I would imagine they're going to have to be pressing charges because the victims' ages of the 8 people who died at the concert were ages 14 to 27. You got 2 teenagers, and then I think the rest, the other 6 who died were adults. And according to Harris County Institute for Forensic Sciences, the exact cause of death for each of the victims has not yet been determined. And according to rapper Travis Scott, he was, quote, absolutely devastated by what took place, and his girlfriend, Kylie Jenner, now I understand why he got so popular.
There's the fame.
Who was at the concert. She posted on Instagram that Travis and I are broken and devastated. And apparently Live Nation, that was partnering with Travis to put on the concert, has been coordinating with Houston police in their investigation efforts, and they've been 100% cooperative, according to the police officers. So, man, this story is... well, first off, it's terrible. It's awful. It's tragic.
Yeah.
And all these footage, man, you see video after video, all these videos where people are like, it was like being in hell.
Yeah.
They're like, it was almost like, the conspiracy theory is that he was sacrificing people to summon a demon or something. And the reason why I think this conspiracy theory is so prominent right now, I think, would be because you had people from the concert saying, it felt like we were in hell, man, and he sacrificed his own fans.
I will say the people that go to those concerts are the fast food stoner people. So it's not your country music crowd. It's not,
right.
And this has nothing to do with race, because in rap there's every kind of race. But that is the lowest common denominator of like knowledge. And it's just, I used to hang out with these people. Now, the see you on the other side thing, that's weird, and I'm not ruling that out at all. And I'm saying Travis Scott's 100% responsible. I just know these rappers that I would record. Yeah. They were stoned that was their lifestyle.
Well, that's what people are saying. The conspiracy theorists, the reason why they're coming out in droves with this right now is because they're saying that it's no longer subtle. The messaging is no longer subtle about quote unquote Illuminati and demon worship and Satan worship and stuff in our popular culture. They're saying it's no longer subtle. They'd say things like they used to try and hide their messaging in cartoons and this kind of stuff. Now they're not even hiding it, and that is what the conspiracy theorists are saying. It's like now it's just blatant. You know, there was on one record that released several years ago. It was a Katy Perry record. They had like the lyrics, or no, the song titles on the back of the record were shaped in a pyramid. I think it was Prism is the name of the record. The song titles were shaped in a pyramid, and the picture of her was there, and her eye was right up in the top of the middle of the pyramid, so it made it look like the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati thing. And I know that imagery is kind of prevalent in hip-hop and in that culture, but the conspiracy theorists, their argument is that it's prevalent in that culture deliberately. Yeah. It's prevalent in that culture because it's actually what that culture is about.
And that's the thing that I can get behind. I think if something happened, it's higher ups than Travis Scott that are making it happen. Because these rappers, like, they're not smart. They're killing their brain cells 24/7. They're not like knowledge dudes. Now you start talking.
You're not taking away from their talent. They're not talented rappers and not
these new ones. Like you
artists,
take Eminem, Post Malone, maybe like 50 Cent, but like nowadays, dude, it's just. Or maybe they were always like, it's just, these are not smart dudes. They're not, they can't play an instrument. They get high, they go in the studio, and they just improv to a track that somebody else made. It's in their fans. It's like, so when I saw the videos of all those fans freaking out, it just sounds like all those fast food dudes I worked with for years.
The thing that, there was one video where he stops his entire show because a guy tried to steal his shoe, tried to snatch his shoe.
Yeah.
And then he stopped the show, And he incited all the fans around the guy who tried to steal his shoe to beat the crap out of the guy. F him up, is what he actually said.
Yeah.
And then, so he's receiving criticism now because they're saying he can stop the show because somebody tries to steal his shoe, but he can't stop the show when kids are dying in his show.
I think if he was on something, he saw the lights and he probably thought it was the cops trying to shut him down. I'm saying this guy, what I'm assuming is this person is not smart, like all the other people I worked with. And it's just a dude on drugs and he's out of his mind. And I think the camera guy, when the girl was like, people are dying.
Stop the show. People are dying. Stop the show.
Dude, all these people are like stoned. Like they're a bunch of crackheads.
He's not taking her serious.
No, I wouldn't. I would look and I'd be like, oh, okay. And maybe I'd radio. But like
the fact that something like this can happen at a show like this, at a rap concert or whatever kind of concert, what does that say about the power and influence of pop culture on what is essentially the next generation? You know, because you're dealing with the victims here were 14 to 27, I think was the ages of the victims. That's the young generation. Those are teenagers and young adults.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that Travis Scott simply says, come forward, and they all 50,000 people bum rush a stage to a point where people are being suffocated, trampled, crushed. What does that say about the power and influence of pop culture today?
Dude,
and these icons, you know what I mean?
I haven't thought about it this way, but rap nowadays is our new rock. And it's almost like it's because our culture got dumbed down by social media. And so rap, which is, granted, dude, rap is music. Rap is, it can be clever. But like the rock crowd, back in the day when rock was huge, felt like smart dudes. The metal crowd, there's a bunch of geniuses there. You get the rap crowd, dude, it's all the girls with abusive guys. It's dudes that are stoned all the time. That's the rap crowd. That's who goes.
You sound like a rocker, like with your long hair and the curls. You're like, man. But rock crowd was smart people.
But I'm not talking about me. I'm talking back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm saying like, because rock is not the prevalent thing now. It's I know this crowd because I was toxic for a while. I was always a Christian, but I hung out with the toxic stoners.
Gotcha.
And I know this crowd very well. And they're just, man, when I saw those videos, I was like, that makes perfect sense.
You're having flashbacks?
I'm having flashbacks. And it's weird. I always hung out with them. I never did the stuff. So I was always aware. Yeah. But I just learned a lot.
Well, one thing we definitely want to do is you want to try and keep these tragedies from happening again. You know,
he's
in your opinion, man, should Travis Scott
jail
be tried?
Jail fully. And that's the thing. I'm not defending Travis Scott. I'm saying that makes perfect. His behavior is perfectly in line with people in my family who have had those issues, not just drugs but addiction. It's perfectly in line. Pointing the middle finger to the sky.
Let's talk about a couple of things. Real quick that I think are important because they are telling about the climate of the temperature, so to speak, of our culture. January 6th, insurrection on the Capitol. It led to, I think, 9 lives lost or something like that. It was either 6 lives lost or 9. Whatever. Yeah. The number could be wrong, and I'm sorry. All sincerity to anyone, to the families of the victims.
Absolutely.
But there was this massive push to try the former President Trump for his role in inciting this insurrection, as they call it. I prefer to call it a protest. You know,
it was a protest. They thought the election was. They thought the election was being stolen.
They thought the election had been stolen. No different than Nancy Pelosi and all these other people in 2017 who had all these tweets that are still able to be read that said this election was definitely stolen from us, talking about Trump winning. Yeah. But that's all fine. You can say that. The reason why these are connected is because you have somebody who incited, according to by their standard, incited this revolt, incited this violence that led to the loss of life, and they impeached him. They tried him they tried their hardest to get him impeached, thrown out of office, to where he could never again run for office.
Yeah.
And they wanted some accountability and responsibility thrown at his feet.
Yeah.
Yet, in my opinion, because of what Travis Scott has said over and over, come to the stage, rush to the stage, let him through. He has incited them to crowd and cram in a way totally different than the president did. In his speech, he said, march to the Capitol and peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. He never incited violent behavior, and yet they tried him to the nth degree. So I agree with you. In my opinion, I'm like, yes, try the guy. Put him on trial. Put him on trial for manslaughter of all of these people. But we'll see what the pop culture does.
I'm going to go ahead on record. I do this sometimes. I will give you my car if you find one Trump supporter in that Travis Scott crowd. All of those people voted for Joe Biden. All those people, and they would say F Trump. And so you just look at the conservative thinking people and the liberal thinking people, the Travis Scott people. That is Joe Biden's people. They're not educated. They're stoned. They're drunk. They're not doing the right. That is that generation. That's that crowd.
What we're talking about accountability, and when you talk about the reason why I say these things are connected is because, again, we want this through line of justice, right? What's good for you is good for me. Let's treat both sides of the aisle equally and fair and honest. So you talk about Donald Trump with the January 6th and quote-unquote insurrection. You talk about Travis Scott and this tragedy at Astroworld. Should he be tried? In my opinion, yes, you should try him with multiple counts of manslaughter. What this also brings to mind is Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse, obviously the Kenosha, right, Wisconsin, shooter. He was down there with a assault weapon, an assault rifle, and had killed 2 people, to my knowledge, and then injured the one victim of
defense.
Kyle Rittenhouse. That's his testimony is that it was in self-defense. He's pleading not guilty, and they're trying, and they've got him on multiple counts for, I think, manslaughter and murder, and they were trying to get him, the sentence they were going for is life in prison. That's the goal, what they were going for in life in prison. Now, if he just went down there and just murdered up 3 people or 2 people for the heck of it, then I'm inclined to agree with him. Yes, this guy needs to rot in jail. But as the evidence come out, and the video footage was compelling, that in most of these cases there was a clear, potentially clear case made for self-defense. At one point, he's getting beat over the back of the head, or he's getting swung out with that by that skateboard. And then he shoots at the guy.
Anything that pushes the left narrative, it does not matter what's right or wrong.
And so they pushed this prosecution of him for these 2 people died, 2 people killed, and 1 person wounded. Well, but then you find out from the testimony of the one victim who survived, when he's cross-examined by the defense, by Kyle Rittenhouse's defense,
he's got big old gauges in his ear.
But he was like, yes, my hands weren't up in the air in a defensive gesture. When Kyle Rittenhouse fired on me, I had my gun drawn and pointed at him. This guy admits, when he's cross-examined, that he had his gun pointed at Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, in any circumstance at all, if somebody's got a lethal weapon pointed at you, you can fire and defend yourself. All you have to be is in fear of your life. You have to fear like lethal detriment to yourself. If you fear for your life, you can pull the trigger. And he admits it, right? It was yesterday, I think it was, but when we're filming this, that he admitted that, yes, I had my gun on him, my Glock on him, and he pulled the trigger and shot me. I mean, that's a clear-cut, without a doubt, case of self-defense. And now the media has been weaving this narrative that he's this bigot, racist right-winger who went down there deliberately just trying to shoot protesters and because he was giddy about taking the life of protesters.
Every smart thinking person who is an avid lefter that I know, leftist, does not know, they don't know these stories. What they know is, well, Trump is so mean. Like on scene, that's what they know. They do not know the facts. That's why I say the Travis Scott crowd, the Antifa dude you could see. There's nothing wrong with gauges, but this dude who just looks like he lives in his mom's basement and he's 27.
Yeah.
He just, like, the lowest common denominator thinking people end up on this side. And so you've got to look at that. You have to look at that.
Man, you're not wrong that there is a certain amount of credibility that comes with people who are presentable, who have shown that they can be they've taken on a certain amount of responsibility.
They respect
and they've
family.
carried it through. Yeah, there's some accountability and credibility that comes with that. Like, oh, this person's kind of can keep things together.
Yeah,
I said this before in a post. I was like, what does a working successful marriage, what does that say about somebody? It says that they're willing to allow people into the most intimate parts of their life. You know, that they're willing to be vulnerable in front of somebody, that they're capable of compromise, even when somebody's values and views, long-term compromise, even when somebody's values and views may be like explicitly different than theirs.
Yeah.
And they understand the value of keeping their word and their promises. Yeah. Like they understand that. And those are three key things. Now, that's not to say anybody who's had to go through the tragedy of a divorce and couldn't keep it together, that's not demeaning them. That's just simply saying if you can keep a successful marriage together between two imperfect people.
That's why I mentioned family all the time.
These are the things it says about you. So, yeah, there is a credibility voucher when somebody has certain elements of their life together. You know what I mean? Like if it's career, family, whatever it is, if they can pay their bills every month on time under their own steam, there's this amount of credibility that creates. If
your life is in personal chaos, you're probably not making any good decisions in any facet of your life, especially political opinions.
Well, and so do you think that these people then, the reason why these and I call them kids, I'm 38, I've earned the right to call in my opinion, a 14 to 27-year-old a kid.
Yeah.
I don't mean that wrong. I'm just, hey, I'm older.
Yeah.
Maybe you think that's the reason these kids they're so impressionable by somebody like Travis Scott, because they're looking for somebody, they find acceptance in this crowd, and then they're looking for someone to sort of guide them and tell them what to do. And then you get in a concert where somebody to look up to, like Travis Scott, who says, bum rush a stage. All right, we're bum rushing a stage.
You have a bunch of broken people, and you have a party on the left that says everything else is not your fault. It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
Let us fully take care of you. Everything is your fault. Who are all the stoners going to go? You don't have to do anything. Get free money. It's government. That's why, and I know some very smart people on the left, they don't know the issues, man. They don't know any of it. All they know is they do not like the way Trump talks to reporters. That's what they know.
How desperate are our young people for acceptance? How desperate are they looking for acceptance when they think they find it in a Travis Scott concert and in his music and his TikToks and his whatever and his Nike shoes and whatever, and they think they found acceptance into this community, so much so that they're so wrapped up in it that a tragedy like this can occur. I don't know about the conspiracy theory stuff and summon demons, whatever. I know that there's an active force for good in this world, and it's God and his power and authority. And there's also the counter of that, an active force of evil. I know that. Yeah. You've seen it in Nazis and all the stuff in Nazi Germany and in World War II. You've seen it in evil world leaders and powers. You've seen it in serial killers. I know there's an active evil working in this world. So I don't know that the conspiracy theories are completely wrong. Who knows?
Who knows?
You know, it's what do they call it? The spaghetti monster kind of thing.
Yeah.
But regardless, it doesn't change that this is still very much a serious tragedy that you can either analyze and figure out what's going on that's causing this.
Yeah.
Or you can just say, well, let's just not allow people to have concerts anymore. Or, let's just not allow there to be any standing area anymore, any mosh pit or anything like that anymore. That doesn't fix the problem.
You can listen to rap. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. But when the core of the music you're listening to it's sex and drugs, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Don't go to that concert, man. The people at that concert are dangerous. They're super toxic. It's not that they're bad people.
It doesn't matter what genre it is. A good example, I'll say, this is kind of a funny example, and I'm not trying to make light of this thing.
Yeah.
But Grand Theft Auto, you ever play it?
I love that game.
You love that game, right? Okay, all right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Go at
you're
it.
Just a ruthless person.
Go at it.
So Grand Theft Auto, when you get in there and you play GTA Grand Theft Auto Online, and you get in there, and within 5 minutes, maybe less of getting there, somebody's already, if you just stood in the middle of the street, somebody's come up to you, guaranteed, beat you over the head with a baseball bat, or ran you over with a tank, or shot you with an RPG, and you get mad about it, like, why is this guy doing this? Why would he just leave me alone? And then you got to go in the passive mode where you can't interact with anybody, so they can leave you alone.
Yeah.
And you wonder why that is. The reason I say that is because a game that is about stealing, robbing, murdering, that you can hook up with prostitutes, that you can...
I don't do that.
All right, that you can... a game that is about all of these things, that you can just randomly walk down the street and beat someone to death with your fists, or with a baseball bat, or shoot up the street, or kill cops and drive off in their cars. A game that is about and glorifies all of this... You wonder why somebody who's playing it might be the kind of person that would be okay with, this guy started his game. Let's run him over. This is going to be awesome.
See, I think I got a little, I'm a little different on that.
Well, and I played the game. I've played the game a lot, and I try to be the guy that like, this guy's... Yeah. They've done some things to that game now where like there's a radar where if you do too many bad things, people can win bounties by killing you or shooting you or whatever.
I would never... I like to think I'm an incredibly peaceful person. But put me in GTA...
You just take it all out
dude. In well, no, I'm not even mad. I'm just like... I'd take the grenade launcher and start tossing them in the road. It's like there's like... And like it's digital. If there were real people there, dude, there's no way.
But I guess what I'm saying is in lieu of what you said about whatever the kind of music is. If it's country, if it's rock, freaking metal, rap, whatever it is, whatever they're talking about and glorifying, if they're talking about abusing women, if they're talking about abusing substances, if they're talking about malicious things, if the content is malicious in nature, don't be so surprised when the crowd and the people that are drawn to it aren't the most upstanding. That's not trying to explain away or make the loss of life any less significant. It's not to explain away why these kids died, man. It's not to explain that away. It's just to simply say, like you said, man, try to put more positivity in your life. Stay to the stuff that's more positive. You don't have to listen to all Christian music by any stretch of the imagination. But goodness gracious,
can I tell you
get to something positive?
Can I tell you a story about GTA?
Sure.
So this was 8 years ago. I was playing GTA.
You need to be playing Mario Brothers, man.
Hold on. So 4. I was in a spot in my life, and dude, I was just going home playing it, and I had a couple of dreams where I just like was murdering the heck out of people, and I woke up and I was like, nope, and I threw the game out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in. But I started playing it at the beginning of the summer, and I don't know, it was just like a little stress reliever, but like I don't want to murder people. But if it was all I consumed all the time, that's bad. Yeah. Like the girls that I used to date, and their lives were a mess. What were they listening to immediately when I got into their car?
The new Drake record?
Yes. But it was like, it's like,
Nothing against Drake. Nothing against Drake.
Gamers generally are a bunch of smart nerds that can't get girlfriends.
That's true.
The rap crowd is a bunch of abusive people that cannot hold relationships. And there's something with rap and hip hop that like...
I don't know enough about that to know I don't know anything about it.
It's damaged, man. It's very damaged. And that's why I think, like, go to a Mercy Me concert and then go to a Travis Scott concert and let's, like, compare, contrast.
I can say that no one has ever been trampled to death at our
concert.
A 7-time down concert. Again, I am not making light of what happened. I would make a whole 30-minute episode of me saying that and offering condolences to the families of these victims. They went to go see a show. They just went to go see a show, have the time of their life. They're going there to have a good experience.
Yeah. Yes.
That they can talk about for a long time. And they don't ever get to say another word.
I think what I'm railing against so hard is when you have things in your life that you need to fix, but you don't.
Yeah.
And rap seems to promote just do drugs and sex and you're good.
You're saying rap promotes avoid the problem?
It promotes avoid the problem, and that's why these people, when you always hear me rail about like whatever this side, that side, I'm railing against these because they're not dealing with any of their problems. And they're like, they stay 16 forever. And these people are nuts, man. I've dealt with problems before. This is why, like, when people talk about church drama, dude, you haven't seen drama till you've dealt with some ghetto stuff where people are about to show up with a gun somewhere. I'm like, church drama, that's cute. Now I almost ended my life over church drama. But dude, it is nowhere aggressive like this.
I will say that I can't imagine. I believe in God, and I feel like, you know, God's Romans 8:28 says that all things work to the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. So I believe that God has got my back. You know, He's got my best interests at heart. I can't imagine going through the tragedies of life without that assurance, without
insanity.
That peace.
And you do things like get high all the time and go to a concert.
So again, our hearts go out for those families of those victims. I do agree. I feel like there's some charges should be made. I feel like when you're that influential and when you have a history of inciting violence repeatedly, and when you're trying to do things like they did with, say, January 6th and lay this whole thing at the feet of one man, and then you try to do things like with Kyle Rittenhouse and circumstances that could be, and we're waiting to see the outcomes, might very well wind up being self-defense. When you're trying to hold these people accountable to the nth degree, I do feel like when somebody like this has shown a history of notoriously disregarding people's safety for a concert experience or what have you, an example should be made, I think, of Travis Scott. This is not gospel. Keep being awesome, because that's how He made you.